Well, I think Utah's doing well, period.
Yeah. Yes, it's definitely booming and growing and continuing. And from someone who used to ride her bike on the foothills next to my house to, traffic, it's a bit of a change for us who have grown up or been here for a long time, but it's also beautiful to see the growth and the expansion. And I mean, there's so much here in Utah that one can really just enjoy. And in a way, almost the word that comes to me is behold, because there's just like we've got the mountains in the south, we've got Moab, we've got these, just
Oh,
stacked of white, red, just beautiful rock. And then you come up to where I'm at, and this ginormous mountain Timpanogos that I've hiked a few times in my life, and you get clear the top and you can see clear from, each valley. And then I personally, where I live, we have some grandfathered in land, and my father's had horses my whole life. So we've got homes built all around us now, but we still have the land that has the horses. And um, I come out in the morning, I see the sun rising over the mountains, and I come out in the evening, I see the sun setting, just like that beautiful setting you have behind you over mountains. And yeah, it's a really easy place to feel very grateful for Mother Nature and for um, just for the beautiful earth that we have.
it is an amazing place, and I've covered a lot of the state.
Mm.
Because I just, well, I would come to Salt Lake City about every month to 6 weeks, but um, I would drive to Southern California quite often,
Okay.
and I would drive all over the place. So, and um, one time I came down, I was in Idaho and came the north route across the Salt Lake across Salt Lake,
Mm.
and that was really fascinating. I mean, it was no, it was, nobody was out there, It's and then once I drove across, came down and drove across Utah and Nevada all the way almost to Reno on Route 50.
I'm not, I wouldn't remember what's Route 50. I'm sure I've been on it growing up. But is it
Well,
is it the one that ends up going through Death Valley in California?
no, it's far north of that.
Okay.
I'm I'm gonna there's you pick it up. Well, it depends on you come down to Nephi,
Yeah, Nephi. Yeah.
and you no, that's is that it? Yeah, I you come down and you pick it up at Delta.
Okay. I've been to Delta. Yeah. Um,
I spent the night in Delta, and
okay.
it was like the 1950s.
Oh, wow.
They had a movie theater there. I
Was
mean,
it
it
the
was,
outdoor theater or?
no, this is a regular movie theater, but they were only charging $1.50 for movies, and they were
Huh.
current movies. I mean, it was how are they doing that? And then driving across, they call Route 50 the loneliest road in America, and
Huh.
you get into Nevada, it's really it's just beautiful country. I mean, it's and then I did another route where I came down and not far from where you are, and I drove um, east to where to Duchesne,
Mm-hmm.
and south of there, what's that? Not Grand Junction, but
Is it Mesa Verde? No, it wouldn't be Mesa Verde.
not that far south. Vernal, went to
Oh,
Vernal,
my
and then
my
north.
great grandfather built my great no great grandfather built like the tabernacle there. He was He was a worked with iron, and I have like a welder as profession, and he came from Sweden, but he established himself in Vernal and Roosevelt area. So a lot of, yeah, I have a lot of heritage here, a lot of and in Idaho as well. But yeah, I've been around in a lot of places. I used to spend my summers in Zion's Canyon. Our family didn't have a lot of money, but I had a great aunt that lived right at the mouth of Zion's Canyon, and she had a little guest house. So we go every summer and stay. Before there were tour buses, we had to ride through Zion's. I've drank the spring water from Zion's. I've caught little tadpoles in Zion's, all the little hidden spots. And my grandfather and my great aunt were forest rangers there in Zion's Canyon for the summers. And so, yeah, I've been very fortunate to, when you grow up as a poor family, you don't go to all the really cool spots, but you find really unique places to. And we were a big family. I'm the oldest of 8 kids. So,
Well,
we had
it's
summers
all
off. My
cool
dad was a
spots though.
teacher.
It's all cool spots. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I saw. And
Yeah.
when you intentionally go and get lost, so you can
Mm.
find your way, find a different way to those mountains, or find a different way home. I mean,
Well, and
it,
you were doing it without cell phones back then too. So you really were getting yourself lost and finding
yeah,
your way with maps. Yeah.
yeah, that's true too. So it's really fascinating. And so we've already begun, obviously, our podcast, but let's give people a sense of who you are. Why don't you give us just a little quick bio and tell us, who you are and how you kind of arrived at this point in your life.
Okay, this point in my life. Well, I am, as I mentioned, the oldest sister of 8 kids. I had 6 younger brothers growing up, and my little sister was born when I was 18 years old. So I grew up as an only girl of a lot of boys on a mini farm. We call it the mini Taylor farm. Um, Grew up with a dad as a teacher. My mom stayed at home my entire life and would do odd jobs just to help out. And I've been married twice. I grew up very Mormon, believed in eternal marriage, and I tried it twice, but it just didn't, it wasn't eternal for whatever reason. um, I have 5 children, so I'm a single mom. In 2016, I was diagnosed with epilepsy, and I was having focal seizures, which means it was just central in my temporal lobe. And then in 2022, while I was driving home from St. George, Utah, going up north, I had my first breakthrough grand mal seizure
Oh
while I was
my.
going 85 miles an hour on the freeway driving. And I had a friend with me in the car. We rolled across the freeway, landed upside down. Both of us came out with only scratches. The car was completely totaled. Even people were talking about, I wonder what happened to those people. They probably died, kind of thing. Um, and about 6 months before that, I had started working more in the, I'd say, metaphysical type of work, spiritual still, also working with microdosing with different plant medicines, helping myself overcome a big trauma that occurred in my family, which caused the divorce. And I also went up to Mount Shasta a few times to receive Reiki attunements and became a level master, but I never call myself a master of anything. My world has really like, it was like I was a jack in the box and somebody started turning the wheel, and then poof, I popped out and the whole world was completely different than what I thought it was. Um, so I've been learning to get my grounding, learning to find home within my body, because the things that I always thought were home continue to evolve and sometimes completely disintegrate in front of me and created so much chaos within me that, including with the epilepsy and seizures and other things where I have been working on just finding that calm within, the homeostasis, and being a single mama and helping others also find that calm within, the finding home within the body.
The Reiki work that you did, tell us a little bit about what that entails. What happens there? I mean, I've had another
Yeah.
person on the podcast in the early days who was into that, but and he described it. But I'd like to hear how you describe it and what the benefits have been.
Okay. Well, I learned that Reiki was almost like a download to Japanese guru in a way. Different signs, different experiences, and being able to tap into the energy of love, energy of the universe. I remember when I first got attuned, all of a sudden I felt my hands buzzing, and I'd never felt that sensation before. And for me personally, I work mostly remotely with clients. And I can feel in my body where I need to work on them. I learned that through my training. I had never even, I literally was like, I'm going to Mount Shasta for grounding. There's a Reiki retreat. I'm going. I had no idea what Reiki was, honestly. And then there's others who are working on the people they know what they're doing. And also my knee would hurt. I'm like, okay, I'll go work on this person's knee. And then I started finding out that my body, in a way, is almost like a pendulum that helps me find where I'll work on a client. I also have things that will come through. So sometimes I refer to it as almost like a mother's blessing. In Mormonism, there's something called a patriarchal blessing that you receive from a man who has been set apart and received that authority to give you this special guidance for your life, almost like
Hmm.
an oracle blessing.
Hmm.
Um, I started finding that when I do Reiki on clients, I'll have messages come through. And at first, some would be even like a weird message, but I just bring it through anyway. And then my client would reaffirm and confirm and validate what I'm telling them. So I've learned to start trusting that. It was something very new for me. But I've had clients, it's almost like you remove blockages energetically through the chakras. But then I also have these like matriarchal blessings that will come through for clients where I'll tell them something and then it occurs in their life. I've had a client who, let's say, has wanted to write a book for a really long time. And that's not even the purpose of the Reiki, but I'm doing Reiki on her. And then within a month, she's gone and published her book, but she hasn't for like 4 years. Or I have another client who has not found their true love, let's say, and they just broken up. Their heart sad, and I worked with them and I said, "You will find love, and it will actually be quickly." And within 2 months comes this woman, and now they're married. They're on their having their second child, and she's a perfect fit for him and for however long that lasts. But it's almost like removing blockages, blessing them with the energy of the highest vibration of love, and then also just trusting the process. I've had to learn personally also to be really good about afterwards doing my own clearing, going and sitting on the land, um, washing with water, things like that. It's really, really foreign to me and to my family because we grew up very, very, very Orthodox Mormon. But even like I've done Reiki on my brother's hawks. He's a falconer. I've done it on his dogs. I've done it on the horses. So I also work with animals as well.
So, in putting it in maybe a different metaphorical language, what what you have is some kind of deep, embodied sense of context, and it connects with people in some way where you have a sense of who they are and what they are and what's going on with them. Would that be an accurate way of describing it?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes it comes through. Sometimes I can't read them as a person, but I can feel in their body where something needs to be released or let go.
But
Um,
that's that embodied sense of there's something here that we should attend to and pay attention to. And
yes, I truly believe that all people innately, I desire to believe that all people innately are connected energetically, as well as that we are all from the essence of love and
yeah.
created in love. And so with that belief and only allowing, I literally will set boundaries, like I will only let those of the highest vibration of love work with me to help this person. Um, it's been a really beautiful experience, something that I do believe in. And also I've had to learn that I cannot try and put my own, oh, I want this to happen for this person. Like if I work on my child, let's say, I also ask my children permission. I'm not just going to work on them. Like I ask them, do you want me to do Reiki? No. Okay. But they know it's available to them. But when you have this really big desire to try and cure them, then it becomes more ego, more personal, not using really the essence of
Hmm.
Reiki. So I've had to learn a lot of lessons of just like, it's not me. I'm literally just a vessel. I'm just here to kind of be a representative for a moment of this beautiful medicine.
So what I hear is that there is um, this uh, this sensitivity to the world that is also has an order to how you allow yourself to engage with that, so that it becomes um, not so much self-serving, but much more of a giving thing, of a facility to help someone go through something that maybe you haven't even put the words to, but you sense there's something there, and therefore you're providing sort of you're kind of a catalyst for them to see something and maybe make decisions that are beneficial.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. There's also the essence of physically, they may feel lighter. They might they might not even realize another family. I did both the husband and the wife. Within a month, they ended up selling their home and going and traveling the world for like a year with their kids. I mean, but when I arrived at their home, they're not getting along. There's all these, I could feel the blocks, but so I love like sitting back and witnessing this and going, wow. But at the same time, I have to be very careful about not letting it get into my head that I did anything. And then also being allowing and realizing like they have their own authentic path, their sovereignty, all of these things. And I get to be a little part of that journey that allows them to see themselves for a moment or tap into that, oh, I forgot that this is who I am, or even just when one of those heavier blocks, let's say, is removed, all of a sudden there's the ability to breathe and see and be able to step more into the sovereignty of self.
And and you don't have to answer this question, but I'm curious, um, as you have learned this way of, I'm going to call it a way of being.
Mm.
Um, how would you see that having had an effect upon uh, your two marriages? Do you see, if you had come to this sense of who you are, do you think, how would that have made you different in the context of your marriages?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I think it would have destroyed the marriages even quicker.
Uh-huh.
Um, and the reason I say that is I found that when I started becoming more aware of who I was, more aware of what I wanted, and more aware of um, kind of stepping outside of the programming that I'd received since I was young, the more there was conflict. And the more, well, especially with my second spouse, there was some really not good things that happened where I turned him into the police and other things. I would
Oh,
have had the power and strength to do it earlier.
so you've gone through a dramatic transformation.
Yeah.
And what was it that, how did you find Reiki? What was that process?
I'd gone through yoga training. I I'm a yoga teacher. I don't teach anymore, but I find that everything I follow through with and I'm drawn to, it's for my own, partaking of my own like
Yeah.
self, growth. And I had been doing yoga for about 2 or 3 years. And right after the divorce, right after I discovered things, the second divorce, suddenly I was like, I need to ground more. It was right during COVID. It was like February of COVID and no, March of 2020. And I kept thinking, I need to ground more. I need to ground more. And I had heard that there is this idea that Mount Shasta is the root chakra of the earth. So I literally started eating more red foods. I started grounding more. I started trying to reestablish my foundation. The root chakra is known as that safety, foundation, security, financial security. And all of that had been blown up, literally. Like it was like completely destroyed. Um, and I was like, root chakra, Mount Shasta. And then I was in this Whole Foods store following this woman that had a mask on. She kept buying all these red foods. So I'm following her. I have in my mind, I want to go to Mount Shasta. She turns around, all of a sudden I see that it's my friend I haven't seen for about 6 years. So we have this joyful reunion, very serendipitous. I tell her about what's been happening in my home. She says, this has been happening with my father. We're going through the exact same thing in life in a way. Not the exact, but very similar. And then I invite her. I say, I found about this retreat, a Reiki retreat in Mount Shasta. Want to come? She says, yes. And then I grab a bottle of water. I walk out and it's water from Mount Shasta, a glass bottle of water from Mount Shasta. So literally it dropped into my lap in a way. Like I said, I had no idea what Reiki really was. I arrive at this retreat with my friend. We're seeing, pictures of Sasquatch and all these things, and we're joking around like, oh, maybe we'll see Bigfoot. And then we get to Mount Shasta, find out that it's also known as a place for Lumerians, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Then the shaman literally when I arrived points at Mount Shasta and says, see that cloud? That's an extraterrestrial ship. I'm like, okay, whatever. After three times, I was like, okay, I'll listen. And then on the way up to one of our trainings, we also had a woman that described being healed from breast cancer from extraterrestrials. So I was going there to root, let's say, to Mount Shasta and get Reiki training. And then I had my crown chakra completely blown off and being like, boom, I think I'm also going to do mushrooms because I need healing from all this trauma. And then that's how, like, complete just, I was re, re, yes, my entire everything that I ever thought I knew completely was wiped out and not replaced, but reinforced as well as expanded into a very beautiful new way of thinking.
So, uh,
I know that's a lot, but
no, no, I totally understand what you're saying, and
okay.
I've heard this before, so it's
Okay, good.
um,
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not being judgmental or critical at all. I mean, this is
No,
your experience, and that's what
it is.
you're telling us your experience.
Yes.
What I find though, this is what I find is that so much of the way we approach our lives in the modern world is first of all by thinking, by
Mm.
trying to rationalize our way through it. Why did my two marriages end? Why did this happen? And I got to figure this out. And then at some point you realize that there's a deeper spiritual reality that's taking place. And people are engaging in this spirituality in many different ways. And what you've experienced is just one of those. There are many of these ways of attending to things that are more mysterious, and you could even use the word enchanted. There's sort of an enchantment about life that we miss when we simply look at everything through a logical lens.
Yeah.
And so uh, the question is, what? Well, I have many questions. So let me come to let me shift. Let me just ask what you think of what I just said. Let me ask that.
No, I 100% believe in that. And I agree with you that I do believe that we have our own journey and path. Some of us may be more stubborn to be open-minded, let's say. I joke around that the epilepsy came to me because I just there's this idea that epilepsy spiritually means you're hard-headed and stubborn, which, I have had to hit my head quite a few times due to seizures. But the idea that I came from a religion literally has the blueprint for what life is all about. and where you go after this life. And I liked it and I loved it. But I joke around that it took 2 divorces and something really intense to like be like, hey, Kristin, knock, knock, knock. Your spirit, your soul, your whatever really wants to have more of an opening, the ability to conceive things that you never thought were even possible. And I believe that for every person. I believe that certain people that choose a religion and love it and follow it and never get pulled out of it, let's say, that's their truth and it brings them joy. And it's something that that human decides to stick with. For
Mhm.
me, for whatever reason, it was like, let's twirl you up and take you apart and try and put you back together. And you like excitement. I love excitement. I love drama. I love, you know, I love new foods. I love discovering new things. And these things ended up in the spiritual realm, mostly metaphysical, um, which also goes along with the crown chakra and the third eye and hitting my head a lot and the epilepsy. I mean, that alone already opens you up to a lot of things. And I had all this before the big seizures started coming anyway. So I knew it wasn't me just going off into la la land.
We were introduced a couple of weeks ago through Barb Cleve and her polymath group, and I'm curious as to how you found your way to that group and how you perceive yourself as a polymath. Barb's
Yeah.
been on here several times, so I've had a lot of polymaths on here. So you fit in really well. I mean, I see the polymathy in you, but
Yeah.
I'd like to hear you how you describe that.
And what I find intriguing is um, with the epilepsy, I've also become quote unquote to humans more dumb. Like I can't play the piano anymore. I can't do
Huh.
simple math sometimes. I forget things. I have brain fog. The medications block my memory. I have short-term memory issues. I've lost some of my memory due to some of my seizures. So there became this moment where I thought I was getting dumber, let's say.
Yeah.
But then my metaphysical and spiritual abilities were becoming more advanced and more saturated, let's say. And then I started recognizing, realizing that there's so many types of intelligence. I was married to first an auditor who's extremely intelligent. The second one's a PhD biochemist who works with um, nanoparticles, extremely intelligent. My body was like, I must breed with really intelligent people. That's how my joke now. But like,
Oh, I love
I'm
that.
going to create children who are smart, are able to handle the spiritual and also the very intelligent realm. But then I have some brothers who are extremely, to what humans see as intelligence, very intelligent. And I also saw my mom always kind of feeling like she wasn't smart because she only went to and got an associate's degree, but she can like she she can take a problem, she can do it, she can fix it, she can do, she can change life just through her ability to solve problems. And so this idea of polymaths came through, I think it was the octopus. I can't remember his name right now. There was another group on LinkedIn, and
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
okay, immediately I was drawn to that, and I started recognizing within me that my I am so drawn to so many different ways of thinking and ways of learning. And it just immediately, it's one of those things that kind of sunk in into my heart, was like, this is really a real thing. Let's stop looking at a person kind of in a one plane
Hmm.
um, aspect. And then I don't even remember. I think Barbara might have been introduced through the octopus movement. And then I started getting these emails. And that was the first one I've attended, but I felt so strongly I was supposed to attend that one. I mean, because it's 7 a.m. I have 3 kids. I'm single momming it. I got to get them ready for school, all the things. And in fact, this next one, the theme of what she's going to be covering, different types of intelligence, immediately I'm like, yep, okay, you make that sacrifice, you do it because it's something that your soul is calling for or your mind is calling for. And so for me, polymath is literally recognizing all of us have intelligence within us. Some of us think that's only the ability to, spout out and do maybe formulas, yet within me, I recognize I have many types of intelligence
Hmm.
that maybe cannot just be seen through my mouth, let's say.
Yeah. Oh, I totally get that. And the way I see it, and I'm not sure that the academic polymaths, meaning the people who study polymathy,
Mm,
see it like I do. Because most of those that I've met are highly intelligent at a very abstract level.
mhm,
They're and I'm amazed at them. I love them. I love talking to them. I love to be influenced by them. But I'm not like that.
mm,
But I'm extraordinarily interested in everything.
yeah.
And when I hear someone say something that I've never heard about, I'm going to go look it up on the internet, and I may end up buying two, three, four, five books on it
Mm,
because I want to understand. I want to understand what that person is studying and experiencing, so I can relate to them. To me, it's all about a relationship. I want to
mhm,
be able to relate to all these people in the world. And so in order to do that, I have to study. And I was not a great student because my way of looking at the world is big picture. It's not this minimalistic, small, reductionistic way that academia does things. I got out. I mean, I went through all of that. So it's not that I can't do it, but it was a struggle because I would would see other things, and at the same time I'm reading this paragraph. So I'm reading a paragraph where I'm reading a sentence, and I'm thinking about it, and so I end up being a very slow reader
hmm.
because I'm processing it all the time. And
Yeah,
as I
it's
process it, I'm putting it together with all these others, like a big puzzle. And what it ultimately did was lead me to do a podcast where I get to talk with all these
I've seen,
brilliant people.
I've watched many, and you have, it's so, the variability is grand and great. Like you have so many different people on that have so many different interests. I think that's really, really beautiful.
And I'm so honored that they would, want to talk to me. But the way that happened, and I think this fits with what you're saying. The way most of those people came to me was through an introduction from someone else. And so I'm meeting people who other people think I should know.
Mm,
And I suggest to you, introduce me to people you think I should know because I'll have them on the podcast and we can talk.
yeah.
So when I reached out to you and on that first time you won Barb's thing, um, it was all because, oh, this looks like a very interesting person. I want to talk to her. I want to get to know her. Oh, her story is interesting, and
Mhm.
I think other people need to hear her story.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. It's been a while since I've been on a podcast, and honestly, last September, not the year before this, last September,
Yeah.
I had a really very unique experience of ICU psychosis post epilepsy, like post seizure.
Hmm.
So there were the two eclipses that happened about 2 weeks apart, and it was in early or late August, early September, and then another one 2 weeks later. Both of those eclipses, I had two massive seizures each eclipse. One, I hit my head and I joked around that I lost my unicorn horn because I literally had, like, I have a picture of, I have a contusion out to here and the red spot right in the middle.
Yeah.
And so it was like a joke, like, lost my unicorn horn. Um, and then 2 weeks later, I had two more seizures. And one of those, my parents came down and had to carry me onto the couch. And it was about 5 minutes long. Then suddenly I'm like, I'm supposed to do a 3-day water fast, probably because I was already into the psychosis a little bit. Because 3-day water fast it didn't even, like, it was so easy. I just drank my water, sat with some hot sometimes outside. 3 days, it went by so quickly. And then poof, I suddenly went into this strange space, another dimension, let's say, where I'm telling my neighbor her daughter is still alive. Don't worry. Um, I see these people that are my in-laws, like parents who have come from the Philippines. I'm giving them these huge hugs and just like, you are the most beautiful people, kind of outside of what I'd normally be. And then that night I started witnessing an intense destruction, like beings who had suffered a lot, but I was gone. So my mom took me to Murray Hospital. They thought I was on psychedelics, which I wasn't, because I let them know that I'm a microdosing practitioner. So they're testing me for all the drugs, which I was not on. And I literally was in DMT and almost like psilocybin land for 4 days. I would have nurses that would tell me, I believe you. I've sat with ayahuasca. This is the neurologist you can trust. So I had nurses helping me out. I would have these moments where I would ground. I'd tell myself I'm Kristin Taylor, born, and I'd say my birth date, and it would ground me back to like reality for a second, and then I would go off and go into out of body experiences. So for a full year as well, post that experience, everything almost in a way shut down other than self-care, grounding, integrating. One of the greatest things I believe in when I work with clients is about integration, not just having an experience and then going on with life. So it was a full year of integration. And then once these past two eclipses passed and I was still here, didn't fly off into DMT land again, things started to come back again. I had clients starting to reach out, and I literally had a full year of nothing. It was just me and my kids and recalibration and integration.
So are you, I don't know, I don't actually know how to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it the way it's in my head. So are you, do you use these various psychedelics, these, like you just mentioned mushrooms earlier and things like that. Are you using those things on some kind of basis?
I don't personally anymore, but I have in the past. In 2021, I started working with, I actually took a psychedelic therapeutic certification
Uh-huh.
because honestly, I wanted to partake of the medicine to help me with the trauma that I'd gone through. But I was like, yeah, I better get more information about that before I go and sit with medicine. And so I did a certification. We had even Fadiman from MAPS come and talk to us and train us, and it was beautiful. And then I started into the microdosing practitioner world and started helping clients with microdosing psilocybin. And then I expanded into Huachuma, Blue Lotus, and I now work with Amanita quite a bit to help people stop using marijuana or misusing marijuana or alcohol. Um, but yeah, I have in the past, so I recognized where I was when I was gone, let's say gone, but that was without any medicine. My body was the medicine, and I had launched off into DMT land pretty much.
So explain to me, um, before I ask my question, I am I have never entertained the thought of even doing things where I would become inebriated, drink too
Mm.
much beer or whiskey or whatever it is. Never smoked. Had three cigars in my life. I didn't like the way they affected me. I have never have thought or been attracted to doing things which change my state of consciousness in that regard, which I think is what is going on. And
Yes.
I've watched podcasts where this is what they're talking about, and I feel totally, um, uh, I'm not judgmental about it. That they make their own choices, but it has no appeal to me
Mm.
because I like actually being in much more control of my mind and my experience of things because I'm seeking to be very aware of what goes on all around me. I'm watching things all the time, seeing the big.
Yeah.
So kind of give me an idea of how these things are helping people because I know they're helping people. So I don't know how it helps. I don't know what that means. When they tell me that it helps, that's all I need to know, in that sense. So kind of give us an idea of how these different I don't know what you call it, whatever you want to call it,
Say plant medicine
plant
or
medicine, these
yeah.
things. Give us an idea of what is the, how do you see the benefits for people?
Okay. Well, this comes from a girl who wouldn't even drink Coca-Cola. So,
Well,
and then
you're a
I
woman.
ended
You
up,
probably
yeah,
never drank coffee too, either, right?
yeah, I hadn't drink coffee, I hadn't
Yeah,
drink alcohol ever in my life. So it comes from the girl who was that strict with my
Mhm.
own body in a way and my own mind, to something so intense, the trauma that occurred. I was like, and I'd heard about um, the different studies that had gone on about healing and about being able to overcome this trauma, see it in a different way. I was ready to do whatever. And usually that's what I end up getting as clients who are like, I've tried everything. I just can't get past either this anxiety, this depression. I can't sleep, other things. And some of them want to get off their SSRIs. But let's say psilocybin. Psilocybin works with your serotonin. And so I like personally to work with microdosing so that you're not in a different state of mind, let's say.
Uh-huh.
You are always on you might be able to slightly feel a slight difference, but it's over a long period of time, at least 3 months. 3 months is usually what I recommend. And it helps with your default mode network to slightly like shift slightly so you're not in the same parallel ski um, little slopes that you're always in, slots that you're always in. Something happens where you start to be able to look at life slightly different, witness patterns a little bit more intricately, be aware of things that might not be serving you best. But it's definitely not a checkout. A lot of people think I mean, there are the people who go and do it just for recreational use. That's not the work that I do. I actually am not, I don't believe in that personally. I do believe it's a spiritual, something to awaken you to be more who you are, more authentic, more sovereign. And if there is healing that needs to occur, that also helps. Um, I work with something called Amanita Muscaria, the red mushroom with white dots. Also, always in a microdosing aspect. That one works with your GABA receptors. Now, personally, for epilepsy, I'm taking a medicine that uh, works with my GABA receptors and helps me stay more calm so that I won't fire off all the time. Because if I get too excited, I can have a seizure. But what the Amanita muscaria to me felt like, and when I worked with it personally, it felt like almost like the goddess Kali I refer to. So it's like, I'm going to give you all the good things. We're going to benefit your life, and we're also going to take care of and destroy a few of the things that are not serving you well.
Mhm.
Um, and a little bit playful would be Amanita muscaria. Um, Huachuma was working with actually Blue Lotus was working with the dopamine. Yes. Blue Lotus works with your dopamine receptors. So I get clients who are highly depressed. Maybe are also how I call it the blue pill of nature. I was like, why isn't there a blue pill for women? Well, I found it. Nature found it, not me. But that one helps with lifting the mood a little bit. I found myself singing more, or dancing more, or being a little bit more lively. Um, it kind of reminds you of who you are. It kind of brings you back to remembering sometimes almost a childlike state, but also with an awareness of an adult, of a higher self.
Mhm.
And I personally have worked with ayahuasca. That is how I was able to witness and release that was the medicine personally for me that helped me be able to forgive my children's father,
Mm.
the second husband.
Wow.
Um,
It's
I
big.
witnessed DNA. I even saw like DNA molecules. But I didn't do it in the traditional way. I actually did it with two women who held the space for me because I knew I might take on everyone's if it was in group. Um,
Mhm.
so
Uh-huh.
so there's many different ways that I've witnessed this medicine help, especially remove with the psilocybin and Amanita Muscaria and then the Blue Lotus. Those are the ones I found that sometimes I can work with all three with some clients. Women that have PMDD severely get suicidal right before their period. We'll work with maybe Blue Lotus and psilocybin. And so I've just found that, it's not for everyone. If you don't feel called to it, you are absolutely not meant to be doing this until once the curiosity, and I think this might be for me, I believe that that's when it's for the person. That it also, I personally have never worked with MDMA. I've never done it myself, but I have witnessed a lot of people really recover through severe traumas through MDMA.
Hmm.
Having a facilitator there helping them, and then ketamine. I'm currently applying to get my LMFT, like marriage and family therapy license, because I would love to work more on a therapeutic level. Um, I find that I have a positive psychology certificate, so I can do coaching. But I find that there's still a lot of skepticism, and I feel that people will be more drawn to trusting my process if I do have a certificate, which I really don't like. But I
I
finally
understand.
like succumbed to the okay, I will subscribe to some of what others need to be able to trust the process.
Well, I have all these questions. I have one more question to ask you.
Okay.
Um, I think it all fits. All these things fit together in some kind of grand scheme. What, what has been your experience um, with your dreams, your dream life, um, and how has that either been a part of it or not a part of it? And if it has been, how is that? How have you addressed that? Because I think the dream state that we all may or may not have is a part of this as well. So that's why I'm asking.
Okay. Recently, my dreams have been very vivid. And I do believe in Jungian psychology and the dream psychology, that
Hmm.
there are symbols and other things that come forward. I personally can smell things sometimes in my dreams.
Hmm.
I can feel or taste now. In the
Hmm.
past, I never could smell or taste, but I have had some significant dreams that have let me know and receive the answer that I'm not alone.
Hmm.
Um, those dreams where I wake up and I remember significant symbols that mean something very personally to me. I wake up thanking my higher power and um, thinking the process that helped me move through some of that confusion, let's say. Then there's other dreams that are just so whack that you're just like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have a daughter who has severe nightmares all the time. She's 20. She's gotten used to them, but that I also have a niece that's the same age as her, and mostly all of their dreams are just horrific. Um, and I always wish for them to not have these horrific dreams. Sometimes I do believe in past life experiences. I have had, I've done hypnosis many times to travel back to past lives, and sometimes those come forward in my dreams. And I have a dear friend who's a therapist and a Jungian dream analyst, and so it's fun because she definitely believes in the symbols and the way that things come forward for us to process. I do believe that sometimes we may travel to a different dimension, work through a different life, possibly. I'm open to that. I don't have a firm belief, but I'm open to it. And lately, these past 3 weeks, I'd say, I literally go to the same bed the same time as my kiddos because I think I'm gonna go off to dreamland, and I'm having really beautiful,
Hmm.
unique experiences in my dreams, and I'm welcoming it. and I'm grateful for it. What about you? Curious about you and the dreams.
I have very vivid dreams, and um, they're capturing what I see as reality. You know,
Mm,
it's like it's like my brain is a computer that's taking all the data that it's received over a period of time and bringing it all together into a coherent picture. And
mm,
that picture, it has um, a it's like a film. It has motion to it. It has, it's going, and it may feel like I've dreamt for an hour, but it's 2 minutes or something like that. And I mean, when I was much younger, I had a recurring dream of being chased,
mm.
and then that went away, and I've never had that dream again. Um,
Interesting.
and I know that it was the dream of being chased was really just um, a fear of disappointment, a failure, of all those different things that we experience, and that I was running away from all of that so that I could find some safe place because I felt like if I failed, it was catastrophic. It was that sort of thing. I don't feel that any longer, but I think so. Um, and it's the vividness of these things that tell me, well, I don't need for them to be any more vivid than they are. And um, I don't know if you know this, but I began my career as a Presbyterian minister, and so I
Oh,
had,
goodness.
I grew up in the church, and I grew up being taught, all the stories of the Bible, and as a kid, you learn all these things, and
Yeah,
they reside in your conscious, in your subconscious, um, and I've said this to some people, but I feel that there are moments when I have a vision. It's really more of a vision than a dream, a vision of what the world would be like before Adam and Eve had committed the original sin, of
mm,
what that perfect world actually looks like. And and I would simply say that that has been a gift to me because it gives me a sense of what is possible
mm.
and maybe where we're headed at some point in some way. Uh, but it doesn't come with a manual for, well, how do we create that? It's just a
Right.
picture of what it is. And maybe it's because I am so aware of everything else, the hardships and the pain and the suffering and the death. And I mean, that's what not having hallucinations in my life has brought me to, which is I'm very aware of the hardships that people go through and the suffering. And and I understand why it happens. I understand all of that. And so what it does is makes me want to be more compassionate and more understanding. And that's one of the reasons I do this, is because it allows me to have that kind of relationship with people who have suffered, even though we may never talk about it on the podcast. But what I'm able to do is offer affirmation and appreciation. And I have had people tell me that I've never had that before from anyone.
Wow. No, it's so important. When
Yeah.
I was in my psychosis for those 5 days, I had two messages come through so strongly. And the two messages were, you're not alone
Yeah.
and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're providing
Yeah.
through, you're doing
That's
it
right.
one on one. And I believe strongly in the connection. I may never meet you in person. Sometimes things happen though. Once we've, connected, then it's like the all the angels and all the things are working together. Let's get them together in real life. And that does happen sometimes. And even if not, though, energetically, I do believe in being able to send, love or goodwill to others that are far, far away. And I even call it a heart text where you'll like sit for a moment. Let's say I'm going to think about Ed for a moment, send him this almost like Care Bear stare, rainbow shine over to Ed. And you'll be surprised. I learned this from a mentor actually, and he mentioned you'll be surprised those people start reaching out to you because it's almost you energetically pinged them with love and you come to mind and they'll start reaching out.
Yeah, I've
So,
had that experience, and oftentimes someone comes to mind, and I said I'm going to call them, and I'm calling them, and I've found that they're in the midst of something very difficult, and
mm,
in fact, I need to call someone this afternoon who's in the middle of something difficult, because I think that I mean, at a very basic level, as human beings, we need to connect not just with what is positive and hopeful and uh, the greatness of experience, whether it's, skiing down a ski mountain in Utah or, you know, uh, standing on that precipice out at Monument Valley, looking across at those beautiful desert mountains,
yeah,
whatever it may be. There is also that point in time where we need to connect with people when they're at their lowest and let them know that someone is there for them.
yeah,
If nothing more, just to say, hello, I'm thinking of you, or to say a prayer for them.
yep. And it means so much. I say always like either a voice text, a call, a video of your face is extremely powerful um, to the person that receives it. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's one of the things that, you know, I personally have experienced a lot in life. Let's say my gene keys, I don't know if you're familiar with those, but my life purpose is unconditional love and my work is to be. I'm like, well, like be me, but without ego. So
Excellent.
that's kind of
Um,
hard sometimes because, when you start getting really having life going good,
I wish you every success. Wish you every
thank you. But to be able to have unconditional love, you do need to experience quite a few things to be able to recognize and love others that maybe are unlovable.
Well, okay, this will be the last thing I say.
Okay.
I realized at some point years and years ago that I was extraordinarily judgmental
Mm,
towards people, and I knew in the back of my mind that was a form of insecurity, of weakness, and I knew that, but it didn't. But it was also a sign of my mental acuity. I could see things that other people couldn't see, and so I'm thinking, why don't you see this? You're obviously doing something which is detrimental to your life, your family, your whatever it may be.
yeah.
Um, and and I'm not, even as a minister, I'm not very religious in the sense of the institutional side of that. I think there's a much more spiritual approach to this that's important. And what I decided I would do as a way of kind of checking, as a kind of a discipline, was I would put Jesus between me and that person and say, what does Jesus see in that person? What does Jesus love in that person? And then, okay, that's what I'm going to look at.
Mhm.
And I'm giving up my right to sit in judgment by giving my attention to what Jesus sees in that person. And my example of doing that is the story in John 4 where Jesus meets the woman at the well.
Mhm.
And I love the story because here he is, he's sitting under a tree. His folks have gone into town to get some food. He's just sitting there taking a nap, and this woman shows up to get water, and it's noontime, and that's not when they go to get water. They go early in the morning, and so they started a conversation, and she senses he's somebody. I mean, first of all, he's a Jew, and she's a Samaritan, and they don't they're not allowed to really talk to each other.
Right.
And so she doesn't understand. And she realizes that he's a religious figure. So she wants to talk religion with him, and he doesn't want to talk about that. He wants to talk about her.
Mm,
And at some point, she crosses some line where she realizes that he knows her exactly as she truly is, and he still accepts her. And she goes into this village where she is an outcast because of all the men that she's had as her husbands, allegedly husbands. And she goes into town and she tells them of his her experience with this man who told her everything about her. And they all rushed out to go find who this man is. So they saw something in her that had changed, and and it changed that whole village because then they came out to find out who this man was.
Mm,
I see that as kind of the power that all of us have to bring about change merely by the way we talk to people and by the way we care for people, and that maybe they become someone that other people are now seeing as, oh, I need to pay attention to her because she's saying some things now that are worth that have now caught my attention.
mm. Yeah, that's a beautiful way of looking at that story. I mean, I grew up very, very religious and learned the Bible very well, but it's always beautiful to hear another perspective from a different religion. My dad actually was a seminary teacher for his profession.
Oh
My
boy,
grandfather's a religion professor at BYU. So,
I
um,
understand you've been in.
I've learned the scriptures well, let's say, and I love them. I had a hard time for a bit. I kind of had a crisis of faith and especially of religion, um, when a lot of things of that occurred. But I see and I love the beauty of the stories and um, the belief in something higher and greater than ourselves
Yeah.
that connects us. And Jesus is one of those that
Did you
can,
do a
as you
mission?
mentioned, be like the glasses that change the prescription. I did serve a mission in Paraguay, actually. Yeah.
How
So
was that experience?
that was intense. It
Yeah,
was
I bet.
lovely. The people are just
Yeah,
amazing. And it was hard on my body,
yeah, I'm sure.
but I'm so grateful. Yeah.
Well, I'm grateful that you've been with me today and we've had this conversation um and we'll make sure that people know how to find you. I'll put that into the show notes and you just send me whatever you want me to put in the show notes and I'm grateful that your journey is continuing in a very positive direction and that a lot of these uh, physical problems that you faced seem to have some resolution to them.
Thank you. I always believe there's a purpose in life, and gratitude is one of those base foundational, characteristic traits that can really make life easier.
I agree. And I thank you all for watching. I hope this has been interesting and intriguing to you. And I wish you all the very best. And we'll see you next time here on the Eddie Network podcast. Bye bye.